In our previous video, we created the iris graphic right here. Alright, in this video, we'll be taking on the second one that says Velvet. Let's take a good look at it. Alright, what we have here is that same rectangle. We seem to have some texture in here, a slight gradient going from light to about medium dark right here, and we have the color red. Alright, in the graphic itself, we have what seems to be two layers of the same word. Alright, the middle part contains black gradient and the outside contains what seems to be a stroke and a linear gradient. So, alright, let's get started on this one. Start out by going to my shape tools, and I need to drag out a rectangle. Alright, so I'm clicking, dragging out, plenty of room. I'm going to select this, and I need to change the color to red for the base color. So I'm hitting color, and I'm going to go ahead and drag that out, and I'm going to double click here, and I'm going down to red, and I want something towards the middle. Alright, something about right here, and I'm hit OK. Alright, so there's my base color. Now what I want to do is I want to add the gradient and then the texture. So I'm going to select my rectangle, go to Appearance, and select Fill, and go to Duplicate Selected Item. This will give me a second fill to play with. This is the one I'm going to add the gradient. Alright, this time the gradient is going to be a linear gradient, which uses fade to black. Alright, obviously this doesn't look anything like the gradient that we want, especially the direction. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the transparency of this fill. So I'm still making sure this fill is selected. Now I'm going to go up to transparency, and I'm going to go to multiply. Alright, pretty dark, and it's going left to right. I need to go up and down. So I'm going to make sure this is still selected. I'm going to my gradient tool, and I'm going to click this way, hold down shift. Alright, let's see if that works out. Alright, it's pretty close. A little too dark on the bottom, so I need to drag it down a little bit. Alright, so we've got the color and the gradient set up. Now we just need to add this texture right here. So I'm going back to my rectangle. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to go to my Appearance panel. Alright, I need to add a third fill again. Alright, I'm going to select the fill, and I'm going to go to Swatch Libraries menu. I'm going to look around for textures. Alright, let's look here. Let's go to Patterns, and go to Basic Graphics, and then let's go to Basic Graphics Textures. Alright, so this will bring up quite a few different textures to play around with. They're kind of hard to see, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the large thumbnail view to get a little bit better idea. Alright, I'm going to start at the top and start working my way around. Alright, not quite it. Capsules, no. Close, but not quite. Alright. Alright, these are really nice for backgrounds too, just because they're kind of non-discrete, and they kind of just fill space. Not quite there. Alright, this is looking like it. So it's right here. USGS 19 Land Inundation, whatever that is. That's the one we want. So we make sure we selected this one, and we go back here, we close this, and we go back here, and I'm going to select that fill. I'm going to check the transparency, set multiply. That's fine with me. Alright, and so now we have the background set up. Now it's time to begin the actual lettering here. Alright, we're going to try to find a similar font. It's going to take some editing to get it to look like this, but let's begin. Okay, I'm going to my type tool. I'm going to select an area over my background. Right now I have Eccentric STD selected for my font. I have no idea if that's the right one because I haven't even started writing. I'm just going to start out with Arial because it's a nice generic one. I'm going to go with regular, and I'm going to go with a fairly large font size, so I'm just going to stick with 72 for now so I can see it. Alright, I'm going to write the word velvet. Alright, and surprisingly, Arial looks a lot like it, so I'm pretty sure we're going to stick with this one. Alright, there's a slight difference. If you notice in the T, there's a slight bend right here. Alright, that's okay, we can work with it. It's close enough. Alright, let's increase the size quite a bit. We'll go up to 90. Alright, I want you to notice it's about the same size now as the lettering that we're trying to copy, but how far stretched out these other letters are. What we have to do before we convert it to a shape, we need to stretch these out from each other a little bit. So to do that, we're going to make sure it's selected. So go to your selection tool, make sure you have your word selected, and you're going to go up to character. Alright. Character allows us to specifically change the spacing between letters and the shape of letters before we actually do anything with expand. What we need to do is we need to space apart the letters right here. Set the tracking. So let's click on that and let's try out 50. Alright, it's a little bit. Let's go with a little bit more. Let's try 75. Alright, looks good. That gives us enough room to play around and get this graphic done. I want you to notice that when we do everyday text, we normally don't change the spacing because it helps the words clump together so we can read, makes it legible. When we're dealing with words that are individual, we normally have to space them out a little bit more or a little bit closer for design purposes. Okay? So here we are. We've got our velvet. Let's go ahead and create outlines. We're going to change it to a shape. So go to create outlines. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to try to replicate those letters again, but just slightly larger. I click here. Let's see. If I select this one and drag it off, you'll see this is actually in several bits. There's actually an E behind it. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the lettering behind it. To do that, we're going to my selection tool. I'm going to select the word. I'm going to go to Object, Path, and Offset Path. Alright, I'm going to hit Preview. Alright, right now it's a negative. That's not going to be any good for me. I need to try at least, let's try a 4-point offset. Alright, instantly you notice that we have these shapes coming in behind and mimicking what we did. Alright, it's a bit much. Let's break it down to 2. Let's see what that looks like. Alright, that's much closer. Alright, we're not getting anything coming together. And miter limit's fine. Let's hit OK. Alright, from first glance, it looks like we just have one word, and it's the same word that we had, it's just slightly thicker. You notice if we mouse over though, we have 2. If I click on 1 though, it's all selected. What I need to do is ungroup it. So I'm going to select, I'm going to go to Object and Ungroup. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the letters that are on the inside, the smaller ones. I'm going to go ahead and group those together. Alright, and then on the outside, I'm going to click, hold down Shift, and select the outside letters. And I'm going to group those together so we can treat them separately. Object, Group. Alright, so in the middle, what we're going to do is we're going to add a gradient. And we're actually going to use, let's start out with this linear gradient. Alright, doesn't look anything like what we're looking for here. What we're looking for here is something more subtle. Alright, but we'll get there. So we're going to select the smaller word that we just applied the gradient to. We're going to go to the gradient panel and open that up. What I want to have are 2 blacks, one on each side. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to hold down Alt, click again, and drag away to clone it. I'm going to bring the white part into the middle. And go ahead and drag this black all the way over to the edge. Alright, the white is still way too bright, so I'm going to double click on it. And I'm going to go from white to kind of a medium, or kind of a dark gray. Alright, I'm going to hit OK. So we have black to dark gray to black. Alright, now all we need to do is make sure these all have the same direction. So we're going to go to gradient tool over here, and I'm going to go from top to bottom, and there we go. We've got that basic gradient in the middle. Alright, we have to ignore the outside part right now. We're just looking at the middle. Alright, now I'm going to select the outside group, and what I want to do is, instead of black, I want to go to the linear gradient. Alright, gives it some nice pop right now. Alright, we're going to select it, and we'll go to our gradient tool, and we're going to go from top to bottom and see what it looks like. Let's go the other way. Alright, we want dark at the top and light at the bottom. Alright, and basically that's what we have right here. But you'll notice there's a stroke added on. So again, I'm making sure I've selected the background, or not the background, but the back set of letters. I'm going to give it a black stroke, just a point of 1. That's fine. Alright, and that's a basic setup for the second one. It's complete.